Hi, this is Louis Paul. This is the Colors of Prog, Season 5, Episode 15. This time I'm doing something a little different. I'm discussing the Mahavishnu Orchestra, which is, I guess some people could say they're Prague adjacent. A lot of early jazz fusion bands had a great influence on uh, progressive rock. And take, for example, Relayer by Yes, which is one of the more different albums from them. And there's others as well. So anyway, let's dig into this. The Mahavishnu Orchestra was formed in New York in 1971 in the United States, of course. This band, again admired by progressive rock aficionados, shared an interest and willingness to experiment and are not too different from groups like King Crimson or even some Swedish bands, let's say Anglagard, for example, and more on them on the forthcoming show. The first album, The Inner Mounting Flame, released in 1971, features John McLaughlin on guitars, Jan Hammer on keyboards, Jerry Goodman on acoustic and electric violins. That's a different touch. Rick Laird on bass, and Billy Cobham on drums. McLaughlin and Cobham, among others, had previously played with Miles Davis. And after Bitches Brew, the Miles Davis album, the infamous Miles Davis album, band members splintered off into separate groups. Some Miles Davis group band members began the Mahavishnu Orchestra, and others Weather Report. McLaughlin's guru, Sri Chinmoy, had dubbed him Mahavishnu, hence the name. And the very talented and original guitarist pretty much wrote a lot of the music for band members to embellish. Of course, this would bite him later on when they decided they were all contributing to music that he pretty much took credit for a majority of the time. Back to the Inner Mounting Flame. It remains an important footnote in jazz, rock, and fusion. But often the music goes on avant-garde tangents. It's a very, very original album. And if you were around at that time, it was in your record collection, your vinyl record collection. Birds of Fire, released in 1973, like all of the Mahavishnu albums on Columbia Records, actually contains some reworked songs from McLaughlin's time with the jazz drummer Tony Williams band, the Tony Williams Project. So there was some music that was released and some music he was working on with that band that was unreleased, and that became like the basis for some of those tunes on Birds of Fire. Now, some people prefer the shorter running times of this album as opposed to the general 6+ minute entries on the first one. But One Word, a tune in particular, still comes in at 10 minutes long. And for this one, Jan Hammer even brings out the Moog synthesizer. So it's another good album from them. I recommend the first two. Definitely. There's a lot of these I do recommend to progressive music fans. Now, Apocalypse, released in 1974, had me shaking my head a bit. What's this? 5 tracks, one clocking in at 14 minutes plus and another at nearly 20 minutes. But beside McLaughlin, everyone else in the band is new. Gail Morayan on keyboards and vocals, Jean-Luc Ponty on violin, Ralph Armstrong on bass, and Michael Walden on percussion and vocals. Then there's the orchestra. Yes. The London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Michael Tilson Thomas, with orchestrations from Michael Gibbs. And oh, yes, there's the occasional female operatic vocal here and there. It's an unusual one for sure, experimental to say the least, and even occasionally foreshadows metal prog for those who are listening carefully. And you'll hear it. And it's not a Mahavishnu album I love, but I respect the inclination to try something different. And all these years later, and for its time, it was an experimental release. But before Apocalypse, there was the release of the final appearance of the original lineup. It was a live show recorded in New York's Central Park in August 1973. And it's called Between Nothingness and Eternity. This only consists of 3 tracks, one at 12 minutes and 3 sections like a suite, one track at 8 minutes long, and one coming in at nearly 22 minutes. Now, these were all, according to lore, unreleased music. So they're playing live to an audience, and they're playing something the audience never heard before. Now, this music was stemming from unreleased sessions at London's Trident Studios for an album. But apparently tensions among the band members were not good, leading to McLaughlin to just have an all-new band. And that was the album I just mentioned. So this gig, they played songs they were working on in the studio at Trident. And we have yet, I believe, to hear or see a release of the material from that studio that led to the band members changing and just moving on to other things. This live album is my favorite Mahavishnu Orchestra album by far. It's psychedelic, jamming, often in the vein of the Grateful Dead, if you can imagine that, and takes on heavy rock. A section in the first song, a medley in 3 parts, takes on an almost humble pie sound, and I kid you not. If you aren't sure where to begin with the Mahavishnu Orchestra, I'd suggest this one, then backtrack to the first 2 albums. Since I'm discussing the first 5 albums, 1975's Visions of the Emerald Beyond features the same band that appeared on Apocalypse, minus the orchestra, thank goodness. But McLaughlin is either enamored with Gail Moran or her voice. And it's distracting. I'm not sure if she's the bass player as well. I'm not sure if she's a trained, sorry, she's the keyboard player. I wanted to correct that. And I'm not sure if she's either a trained soprano or not, but I just found her voice, her tone, not to my personal liking. But, you know, be that as it may, they're doing something different again. Michael Walden, also known as Narada Michael Walden, also played drums for a lot of funk bands. And here, McLaughlin lets him embellish the backbeat with a more funky tone. So this album becomes more jazz funk than fusion, and it's still different. And there were quite a few progressive music bands during this period. Let's say it's the mid-70s, who were experimenting with jazz funk, and some not so successfully. Anyway, that's our show, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, something I said earlier prog adjacent, it's not really progressive, but then maybe it is. It's just very, those first two albums are great. The live albums, again, my favorite. But then we have these other two experiments, shall we say. Thanks for watching. Again, I'm Louis Paul. This is the Colors of Prog. We're on YouTube, and we have a Facebook page. And as I mentioned earlier, in the earlier show, I hope to be moving to a different platform in the future. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.